I don't typically make pre-game videos, but this is the last major non-conference game before the tournament, so I decided to give it a go. South Carolina will play UConn on Super Bowl Sunday, which is an awesome matchup to have right before the big game. That being said, I want to give my condolences to the UConn fans that watch me. This will be a slaughter. There's bad matchups, then there's this. UConn's biggest weaknesses are size, speed, and bench depth. They are playing a team that is pretty much number one in all of those categories. A couple of weeks ago, UConn got boat raced by Notre Dame. The problem with this is South Carolina is pretty much better than Notre Dame in every way. They have more size, they shoot better, defend better, and are better coached. That is why South Carolina completely dominated them by 29 points. UConn, a team that couldn't compete with Notre Dame, is supposed to compete against a team that's significantly better than them. I just can't see that happening. Let's take a look at what should be the starting lineups for both teams. UConn starts Nika Moole, KK Arnold, Ashlyn Shade, Paige Beckers, and Aaliyah Edwards. Maybe Gino will consider starting Ice Brady, but we will assume they go with the lineup they have consistently been using. South Carolina will most likely start Tahina Paopao, Raven Johnson, Bree Hall, Chloe Kitts, and Ashlyn Watkins. I do think Nika Moole matches up with Tahina Paopao pretty well. Nika does a much better job of guarding players with Tahina's skill set compared to most of the guards she's been facing in ranked matchups. KK Arnold is a wild card. There's some games where she looks really good, and there's other games where she doesn't look too hot. Raven Johnson, on the other hand, has been much more consistent. For the most part, you pretty much know what Raven is going to give you, but I think Arnold could potentially give her some trouble. Breezy Hall and Ashlyn Shade's play styles are pretty similar, but I think Hall's experience will prove to be too much. This is where things get interesting. With Camila Cardoso being out, UConn's lack of size is not as big of an issue as it would have been. In theory, Paige Beckers and Aaliyah Edwards should cook Chloe and Ashlyn Watkins. We are talking about two All-American players versus two sophomores that are still learning the game. But I don't think that will be the case. Chloe Kitts, and especially Ashlyn Watkins, are very good defensively. I think they match up with Paige Beckers and Aaliyah Edwards well. Chloe Kitts has the size to bother Paige Beckers, and she's quick on her feet despite being a post player. Ashlyn Watkins and Aaliyah Edwards are both players that don't get nearly enough credit outside of their respective fan bases. Aaliyah Edwards is one of the best post players in the country, but Ashlyn Watkins is also one of the best defensive players. It will be very interesting to see how Edwards' offensive skills measure up against Watkins' defense. South Carolina's starting five is not where I think UConn will have most of its problems. Where I think things will get out of hand is when South Carolina pulls out the second unit. Just how it's been a problem for every team. The game typically will be close in the beginning, but then the bench completely changes the pace of the game. I expect the exact same thing to happen. What in the world is UConn supposed to do against Malaysia Fulwiley? I think we will see a second coming of Fulwiley in Paris, or a game like she had against Mizzou. KK Arnold is the only one that has a remote chance of guarding Malaysia Fulwiley. If you look at the players that torched UConn this season, whether you want to talk about Kiki Rice, Hannah Hidalgo, Rivers, or Rory Harmon, they all have something in common. You can even go back in time and mention Ari McDonald and Destiny Henderson. They are guards who can handle the ball, shoot, and they are quick. This has been UConn's kryptonite for years. This game is made for Fulwiley to cook. It's going to be a mixtape out there. I hope Paige Beckers or Nika Moole try to guard Malaysia Fulwiley, because Fulwiley will make them breakdance. Fagan is also going to cause massive problems, because UConn will have to pick their poison. Aaliyah Edwards has to guard Fagan because everyone else is too small or lacks the physicality to guard her. But if Edwards guards Fagan, then Ashlyn is going to have free reign. I don't think Sakima Walker and Tessa Johnson will cause as many problems as Fulwiley and Fagan, but I do expect them to make some plays here and there. I think the best thing UConn has going for them is that weird things happen in rivalry games. UConn was severely outmatched by South Carolina last year, but they were still able to compete. This is also a very rare moment where South Carolina is in a game where the other team has both the best and second best player on either team. This hasn't happened all year, and they won't play another team in the regular season or in the tournament where this will be the case. However, Paige Beckers and Aaliyah Edwards haven't been able to put together a game where they both play well against a top-tier opponent. If they do this in the South Carolina game, then it can be competitive. but seeing how they haven't been able to do this against NC State, UCLA, Texas, or Notre Dame, I don't see why this would change against South Carolina at home. My predictions are that South Carolina will win by at least 20 points, and someone in South Carolina will get a career high this game. I'll leave this video up regardless if I'm wrong, but I would be very surprised. How close or not close do you think the UConn game will be? Feel free to give your thoughts in the comments. And thanks for watching.